Have you ever considered that the greatest secret to turning your life's most difficult moments into your most powerful breakthroughs was actually uncovered more than 2,000 years ago? Picture yourself moving through the storms of life with such deep inner calm that absolutely nothing could disturb your sense of peace. That might sound like something out of a fantasy, but it is far more real and accessible than you might think. This ancient wisdom is a philosophy that proved just as useful in the busy streets and grand halls of ancient Rome and Greece as it does in our modern world today. Stoicism teaches us that even though we cannot manage every single thing that happens around us, we hold complete authority over how we choose to respond. And in a time when unpredictability feels like our daily companion, this philosophy might just be the steady foundation we have all been desperately seeking. What if I told you that Stoicism is far more about doing than it is about simply thinking? It is about building a life rich with meaning, inner strength, and genuine contentment, regardless of what circumstances come your way. It is not about pushing your emotions down or pretending they do not exist. It is about truly understanding them and learning to work with them so that you can live a deeper and more satisfying life. So whether you are drowning in stress, wrestling with hardship, or just hoping to discover more joy in ordinary moments, stay right here. Today we are going deep into Stoicism, pulling out its most enduring lessons and exploring how this ancient philosophy can reshape not only your thinking, but the entire way you move through this world. If this kind of transformation excites you, make sure you subscribe, share this with someone who needs it, and hit that like button. Stay with me until the very end, because every part of this conversation carries something meaningful for your journey. Have you ever sat in a traffic jam, blood boiling, watching the minutes tick by? Or opened your phone only to find a harsh comment waiting for you that instantly ruined your mood? These situations are incredibly common, and most of us have been there more times than we care to admit. It almost feels like life is constantly setting up little traps designed to steal our peace at every opportunity. But here is a perspective from Stoic philosophy that has the power to completely flip that frustration around. Stoicism hands us one of the most transformative tools imaginable, the practice of directing your energy only toward what is actually within your control. The great Stoic teacher Epictetus once shared the idea that it is never the event itself, but always your response to that event that truly matters. Sit with that for a moment. Traffic jams, stormy weather, unkind words from strangers, none of these things are within your power to change. No amount of frustration, anger, or worry will alter them in the slightest. What you can absolutely change, however, is the way you respond to them. This is not merely old wisdom gathering dust in ancient texts. Modern psychology echoes the exact same truth. The renowned psychologist Carl Jung famously reflected that he is not defined by what happened to him, but by what he chose to become. This lines up perfectly with the Stoic way of thinking. Our genuine power lies entirely in our own reactions, our inner world, and our chosen actions. Consider that traffic jam again. You could spend every minute of it seething, honking your horn, and spiraling into stress, none of which will move a single car ahead of you. Or you could take a slow breath, accept the reality of the situation, and perhaps use that unexpected time to enjoy a podcast, an audiobook, or your favorite music. The traffic is exactly the same either way, but your experience of it has changed completely, and with it, your stress melts away, and your day feels lighter. This Stoic idea stretches far beyond traffic and bad weather. It reaches into our personal ambitions, our relationships, our reactions to people who disappoint us, and our approach when life does not go according to plan. As the Stoic emperor Marcus Aurelius powerfully wrote, "You hold authority over your mind, and not over outside events." Understand this, and you will discover real strength. So the next time something sends your blood pressure rising, pause and ask yourself honestly whether this situation is something you can actually control. If it is not, release it. Put your energy into your own response, your attitude, and your deliberate choices. This single mental shift can dramatically reduce your stress and quietly transform your happiness from the inside out. It will not always be effortless, but the practice is absolutely worth the effort. Progress matters infinitely more than perfection, and as you build this habit of focusing only on what you can control, you will find yourself not merely surviving life's difficulties, but genuinely flourishing despite them. Stoicism teaches us something that sounds almost backwards at first: the practice of welcoming obstacles as hidden opportunities. Most of us have been conditioned our whole lives to see obstacles as nothing more than roadblocks standing between us and the things we want. But the great Stoic thinkers, including Marcus Aurelius, Seneca, and Epictetus, turned that entire story upside down. They invite us to stop asking why this is happening to us and start asking what we are supposed to learn from it. That question alone can change everything. Marcus Aurelius, who ruled one of the most powerful empires in human history, wrote in his private journal that whatever blocks the path forward actually becomes the path forward. What he was describing is the understanding that every obstacle, no matter how overwhelming it appears, is simultaneously a test of your resilience and a teacher of invaluable lessons. The challenge is not just something to get through, it is something to grow through. The psychologist Carl Jung expressed something remarkably similar when he observed that whatever you resist will keep persisting. When we fight against our difficulties rather than engaging with them honestly, we actually give them more power over us. But when we choose to face them, accept them, and extract something useful from them, we discover the hidden advantage they were always carrying. Let us bring this down to something practical. Imagine you are sending out job application after application, and all you are receiving in return is rejection. It would be completely understandable to slide into self-doubt and discouragement. But what if each rejection held a message? What if it was quietly pointing toward a skill that needs sharpening, or a new angle worth trying in your search? That shift in perspective can turn what feels like a wall into a winding road that eventually leads somewhere better. Personal conflicts work the same way. They are uncomfortable and often painful, but inside every conflict lives an invitation to practice patience, to stretch your empathy, and to become a more thoughtful communicator. Every disagreement you navigate is quietly making you wiser in how you handle people and situations. The whole spirit of this Stoic practice comes down to asking what this experience is here to teach you, rather than treating yourself as a helpless victim of circumstance. You become an active participant in your own story, someone who learns and adapts, rather than someone who simply suffers. Epictetus captured the heart of it beautifully by reminding us again that our response is always where our real power lives. Stoicism asks us to look past the immediate sting of an obstacle and search for the lesson and the opportunity hiding just beneath the surface. So the next time life places something difficult in your path, try pausing before reacting. Ask yourself what you can take away from this moment and how it might make you stronger and more capable. Remember that obstacles are not just things to push through, they are some of the greatest teachers you will ever encounter, and by choosing to see them that way, you will move through life with far more grace, resilience, and earned wisdom. We hear it constantly, do we not? The invitation to live in the present moment. But what does that phrase actually mean when you really sit with it? Living in the present is about throwing yourself fully and completely into this exact moment you are inhabiting right now. It means not allowing your mind to drift toward tomorrow's worries or yesterday's regrets. It is the recognition that life, with all of its richness, beauty, surprise, and depth, is only ever happening right here and right now. This is not a new idea born from modern wellness culture. It sits at the very core of Stoic philosophy and was spoken about with great conviction by Marcus Aurelius, Seneca, and Epictetus. It has also been echoed by psychologists and deep thinkers across every era since. Marcus Aurelius wrote plainly that we should not dwell in the past or dream ourselves away into the future, but instead concentrate the full power of our minds on the present moment. He grasped that being genuinely present grounds us in reality, clears the noise from our heads, and opens us up to experiencing life as it actually is, rather than as we fear it might become or wish it had been. Yet staying present remains one of the most difficult things we can practice. Our minds are endlessly restless, pulling us toward anxieties about what is coming and replaying scenes from what has already passed. This constant inner chatter drags us away from the very life we are supposedly living. Carl Jung once wrote that even the smallest thing carries meaning when we are fully awake to it. And it is that quality of attention that makes ordinary moments feel genuinely rich. Aristotle connected this idea to what he called eudaimonia, that deeply satisfying state of flourishing where we are genuinely happy, healthy, and living well. He believed that full engagement with the present was central to achieving that kind of life. So how do we actually practice being present? It begins with mindfulness, which is simply the art of paying close attention to what is happening right now without rushing to judge it. When you eat, actually taste your food. When you walk somewhere, feel the ground meeting your feet with each step. When someone is speaking to you, genuinely listen instead of quietly rehearsing your next sentence. These small and deliberate acts of attention continuously pull us back to the present and make even ordinary moments feel surprisingly full. Seneca offered this beautiful insight. True happiness lives in enjoying the present without anxious dependence on what comes next. He understood that relentless worry about the future and endless rumination about the past are both thieves of the contentment available to us right now. Living presently does not ask you to forget your past or stop planning your future. It asks you to find a healthy balance where your past informs you and your future gets your thoughtful attention, but neither one consumes the present you are actually standing in. That balance is where peace and a quiet sense of contentment are truly found. Every single moment offers a fresh chance to return to the now. This moment right here is where life is genuinely unfolding, where love happens, where memories are made, where you actually exist. Let us make a real commitment to showing up for it. When most people hear the phrase self-discipline, their imagination tends toward rigid timetables and a life stripped of all pleasure. But let us completely reshape that picture together. Self-discipline is not about locking yourself into a joyless existence. It is about giving yourself the genuine power to make choices that actually reflect your deepest values and your most meaningful long-term goals. It is choosing what truly serves you rather than defaulting to whatever feels easiest in the moment. At its heart, self-discipline is about mastering yourself. It is the practice of saying yes to what genuinely benefits you and no to what does not, even when that is genuinely difficult. Whether it is keeping up with a workout routine, choosing to save money rather than spending impulsively, or closing the streaming service to focus on something that actually matters to you, these choices rarely feel rewarding immediately. But over time, they quietly build the life you actually want to be living. Stoic philosophy speaks to this directly and with great force. Marcus Aurelius wrote that we hold authority over our minds and not over outside events, and that recognizing this is the source of our real strength. This gets right to the essence of what self-discipline is asking of us. It is about governing our impulses, our emotional reactions, and our behaviors, even when the world around us is loudly tempting us toward easier but less meaningful choices. Seneca added his own layer of wisdom by encouraging us to hold steady and direct our desires, rather than allowing our desires to direct us. He saw clearly that genuine freedom does not come from having everything you want whenever you want it. It comes from within, from the quiet power of being able to govern yourself. Aristotle deepened this understanding further by teaching that excellence and true virtue are products of habit. Every time we practice self-discipline, we are not performing a single act of willpower. We are laying down another brick in the foundation of a life that reflects our real values and highest aspirations. This connects powerfully with modern psychology as well. Carl Jung emphasized that fully integrating all parts of our inner life is essential to living wholeheartedly, and that kind of integration demands self-discipline as we navigate the competing pulls within ourselves and choose paths that genuinely serve our overall well-being. Building this quality in your daily life does not require dramatic transformation overnight. Start small and specific. Choose one area you genuinely want to improve, whether that is what you eat, how consistently you move your body, or how you handle your finances. Set goals that are clear and actually reachable. Move one day at a time. Every single choice you make that aligns with your real goals strengthens your capacity for self-discipline the way consistent exercise strengthens a muscle. Epictetus reminds us that nothing truly great is created in an instant. Self-discipline is built through small, consistent daily actions, and the goal is never perfection, but steady and honest progress. Every new day brings fresh opportunities to practice it, to make one more choice that moves you closer to the person you genuinely want to be. Self-discipline is ultimately a journey toward balance, toward finding harmony between what you want in this moment and what you want most for your life as a whole. It is about making the harder choice now so that you can live more freely and more fully later. Let us walk this path together and choose what is genuinely right over what is merely easy, because that is ultimately the road that leads to our deepest dreams, our truest happiness, and our lasting peace. Life does not stay smooth for any of us for long. It throws unexpected difficulties at all of us, and when it does, we feel the full weight of our emotions, the anger, the sadness, the frustration, the fear. These are completely natural and entirely human responses to a world that does not always cooperate with our hopes. But here is the crucial insight that changes everything. It is not the emotions themselves that most determine the quality of our lives. It is what we do with them. That is precisely where emotional resilience becomes one of the most valuable things we can cultivate in ourselves. Emotional resilience is like an inner anchor that allows you to move through the roughest weather life can throw at you without losing yourself in the process. It is not about avoiding pain or pretending everything is fine when it is not. It is about acknowledging what you feel, understanding where it is coming from, and then choosing a forward path that reflects your values rather than your raw reaction. The Stoics understood this deeply. Marcus Aurelius returned again and again to the truth that our minds are where our real power lives, not in the external world, but in how we respond to it. Our emotions, however intense, do not have to dictate our actions. We get to choose. Seneca taught that the difficulties life presents are ultimately tests of our character. By meeting our feelings with genuine understanding and patient self-awareness, rather than panic or suppression, we come out the other side not just intact, but actually more capable than before. The foundation of building emotional resilience is self-awareness. When you make a practice of noticing your emotions and your habitual reactions to things, you begin to understand yourself at a much deeper level. There is nothing wrong with feeling what you feel. The key is creating just enough space between the feeling and the response to allow yourself to choose your reaction rather than simply performing it automatically. Aristotle spoke of the golden mean, that wise balance between going too far in any direction. Applied to our emotional lives, this means neither suppressing what we feel nor being completely swept away by it. It is about finding and inhabiting the sensible middle ground. Jung added the psychological dimension by emphasizing that real wholeness requires us to face our emotions honestly, sit with them long enough to understand them, and allow that understanding to teach us something useful. This is exactly what developing emotional resilience involves. When a wave of difficult emotion arrives, start by simply giving yourself permission to feel it without immediately judging yourself for having it. Then, step back mentally and try to trace what actually triggered this response in you. That reflection alone can be surprisingly illuminating about your own patterns and sensitivities. Epictetus brings us back to the central truth. Our reactions are always where our power lives. Rather than reacting reflexively, we can train ourselves to respond in ways that are actually constructive and that move us toward healing rather than deeper pain. Growing your emotional resilience is genuinely a lifelong practice. It involves returning again and again to mindfulness, honest self-reflection, and patient self-compassion. It means building a personal toolkit of strategies that genuinely help you when things get hard. Writing things down, talking honestly with someone you trust, finding practices that restore your sense of calm. Most importantly, it requires treating yourself with the same kindness and understanding you would naturally extend to someone you deeply care about. Emotional resilience is never about never feeling difficult things. It is about learning to ride those waves with enough grace and self-awareness that you land on the other side stronger, wiser, and more deeply acquainted with yourself. By cultivating this quality, we give ourselves the ability to face whatever life brings with real courage and composure. Let us commit to this journey together and support one another in becoming the kind of people who can hold steady through the storms and find their footing again on the other side. The Stoics, including Marcus Aurelius, Seneca, and Epictetus, engaged regularly with a concept that might sound unsettling at first, but ultimately carries tremendous power for the way we live. It is the practice of keeping the reality of our mortality consciously in mind. They did not do this to create dread or to cast shadows over life. They did it precisely because holding death in mind has a unique and remarkable ability to deepen our appreciation for every single day we are given. They believed that remembering life's finite nature is what makes us take it seriously, live it consciously, and stop treating our time as though it is something we can always spend later. Marcus Aurelius wrote in his Meditations with striking directness that we could leave this life at any moment, and that this truth should actively shape what we do, what we say, and what we allow ourselves to think about. This is not a call toward despair. it is one of the most energizing calls to action ever written. It asks us to drop the petty concerns, release what does not truly matter, and put our energy into what genuinely does. Seneca wrote about the brevity of life with great urgency, encouraging us not to squander our days on trivial matters, but to deliberately build an existence that feels genuinely meaningful. He believed that staying conscious of death encourages us to live with intention, to value our relationships, and to approach each day as the gift that it genuinely is. Epictetus reinforced the importance of using our present moments well, understanding that an awareness of our eventual end makes it far more likely that we will make honest and ethical choices and stay awake to the beauty that each day contains. How then do we bring this awareness into our own lives without it becoming a source of anxiety? It begins with a shift in how we think about it. Rather than approaching the awareness of death as something frightening to push away, we can choose to see it as one of the most motivating forces available to us. It is not something to dread, but something that reminds us not to wait, not to postpone what matters, not to take for granted the relationships and experiences we already have access to. Think about the things you keep telling yourself you will get around to eventually. Perhaps there is a creative pursuit you have been putting off, a conversation you have been avoiding, a relationship you have been meaning to invest more of yourself in. The awareness of life's impermanence sends a clear and gentle message. Stop deferring these things. Live them now. This practice also invites us to be fully honest in our relationships, to say what we mean to the people we love, and to be genuinely present in the moments we share with them. When we hold the temporary nature of life in mind, we naturally begin to treat each moment with more care. We stop rushing past experiences. We stop taking our closest relationships for granted. We find ourselves grateful for things we previously overlooked entirely. So let us use this ancient practice not as a weight that burdens us, but as a wind at our backs, pushing us toward greater authenticity, deeper gratitude, and a more fully lived life. Let it remind us that the time we have is precious, and that the most meaningful way to honor it is to live it openly, honestly, and with our whole hearts. If we do that, then when our time does eventually come, we will be able to look back at a life genuinely and fully lived, with no major regrets, knowing we loved deeply, showed up completely, and cherished the extraordinary privilege of being alive. It is a beautifully simple idea, but one that can genuinely change the entire texture of your daily experience, shifting your attention from what you are missing to what you already have. This single practice can transform even the hardest days from ones that feel like an uphill climb into ones where you can find something worth appreciating. The Stoics, with all their accumulated wisdom about what actually makes for a good life, understood this deeply. They were convinced that happiness does not live at the end of some future acquisition. It lives in a genuine appreciation of what is already present. Marcus Aurelius often wrote about finding real joy in simple, everyday things. He reflected that waking each morning and having the capacity to breathe, to think, to experience love, and to enjoy life is itself an extraordinary privilege that most of us walk right past without noticing. That quality of recognition is gratitude at its most pure and most powerful. Seneca wrote about the way our desires can send us endlessly chasing after more, while never allowing us to actually rest in what we have. He believed that genuine contentment arrives when we stop measuring what we lack and begin truly valuing what is already within our reach. Epictetus, always the most practical of the Stoic teachers, encouraged his students to find real value in their current circumstances, whatever those circumstances happen to be. He understood that genuine fulfillment does not wait for perfect conditions. It is available right now if we are willing to look for it honestly. So how do we actually practice gratitude in a way that changes how we feel, especially when life is genuinely hard? Begin by making it a daily ritual. Each morning or evening, take a few quiet minutes to name 3 specific things you are grateful for. They do not need to be grand or impressive. A warm drink, a moment of laughter, the fact that your body carried you through the day. These things are real and they matter. This practice over time genuinely rewires how your brain scans your environment, training it to notice the positive as naturally as it currently notices problems. Gratitude also means finding the value within difficult experiences rather than just the comfortable ones. Instead of asking why this hard thing is happening to you, ask what it is quietly teaching you. That reframe can transform even painful chapters of your life into experiences you can eventually feel grateful for. Expressing gratitude toward the people around you deepens it further. When you take the time to tell someone what they mean to you, you are not only lifting their day, you are also strengthening the bond between you and reinforcing your own sense of connection and belonging. Aristotle believed that recognizing the genuine good in our lives and in ourselves is central to achieving real and lasting happiness. He saw gratitude as a foundation of a virtuous and flourishing existence. Modern psychology has confirmed what the Stoics intuitively understood. People who practice gratitude consistently report lower levels of anxiety, better quality sleep, and a noticeably more positive orientation toward life. The old truth remains: it is not happiness that generates gratitude, it is gratitude that generates happiness. So let us make this practice a cornerstone of how we move through every day. Let us acknowledge the small victories, cherish the moments of genuine connection, and find real beauty in simple pleasures. By choosing to see what we have rather than dwelling on what we lack, we cultivate a lasting sense of abundance that does not depend on external circumstances. That kind of happiness shines from somewhere much deeper and much more stable than anything the outside world can offer or take away. The Stoics held a profoundly high view of what human beings are actually capable of becoming. They believed that excellence is the only real good worth pursuing, and that everything we do should be pointed toward living virtuously. Marcus Aurelius is perhaps the most striking example of someone who actually tried to embody this belief in the full complexity of a real human life. He wrote with characteristic directness that we should stop arguing about what a good person looks like and simply become one. In those few words, he captured the entire practical spirit of Stoic personal excellence. Stop theorizing and start living it. Seneca wrote passionately about the importance of continuous self-improvement. He believed that a life genuinely aligned with reason and with our deepest nature is one that is always reaching toward better. True excellence, in his view, is not something given to us from the outside. It emerges from the inside and expresses itself in the actual choices we make and the actions we take. Epictetus focused on personal responsibility as the essential engine of this kind of growth. He taught that our responses, our attitudes, and the direction of our will are all within our power to shape and improve. Mastering these inner capacities is what it actually means to live with virtue. What does this look like in the practical fabric of daily life? It begins with setting your own personal standards based on your actual values and genuine aspirations, rather than on what society happens to be rewarding this season or what those around you have achieved. It means honestly knowing yourself, understanding where you are genuinely strong and where you have real room to grow, and then taking consistent and deliberate steps in the direction of your better self. Personal excellence is also deeply about resilience. It lives not only in your moments of success, but in how you pick yourself up and learn from your setbacks. Aristotle said that excellence is never accidental. It is the result of clear intention, sincere and sustained effort, and thoughtful execution. It is a product of choice made consistently over time, not of chance or comfortable circumstances. That means leaning into challenges rather than avoiding them, and treating every setback as information rather than verdict. Pursuing personal excellence also requires what modern psychology calls a growth mindset, the genuine belief that your abilities and your character are not fixed things, but can be developed through dedication, honest reflection, and hard work. This orientation invites you to embrace difficulty, keep going when progress feels slow, and see effort itself as the actual path to mastery rather than a sign that something is wrong. Personal excellence is ultimately about living authentically. It is about making choices that reflect who you genuinely are and who you are genuinely trying to become, even when easier paths are available. It is about holding yourself to your own honest standards and taking real pride in the journey itself, including the difficult stretches. Gratitude plays a role here too. When we appreciate where we are while consistently reaching for where we want to be, we create an inner environment that supports genuine and lasting growth. Let us commit together to making personal excellence not just an occasional ambition, but a way of daily life. Let us set our own standards, honor our individual paths, and take deep and honest pride in our progress. It is never about perfection. It is about becoming someone we can genuinely respect, someone whose actions consistently reflect their values, and someone who shows up for the incredible challenge of being fully and courageously human. In a world where social media has turned the opinions of strangers into a near constant presence in our lives, it has become dangerously easy to measure our own worth by the number of likes we collect or the approval we receive from people who do not really know us. But here is a truth that has the power to genuinely set you free. Your value is not something that external opinions can either grant or remove. It is something inherent. It is rooted in your authentic self, your values, and the way you actually choose to live. The Stoics understood this with remarkable clarity. They taught that genuine inner peace and real freedom come from focusing only on what is actually within our control, which means our own thoughts, our own actions, and our personal integrity. The shifting approval of others is not within our control, and therefore, they argued, it is not worth the enormous amount of energy we typically give it. Marcus Aurelius observed with great curiosity that people tend to love themselves more than anyone else, yet consistently trust others' opinions of them more than their own self-assessment. This paradox is worth sitting with. Why do we hand so much authority to people whose inner lives we can barely see? Seneca reinforced the importance of living a life that is true to your own values and principles, rather than one shaped by what other people happen to expect or reward. Genuine contentment, he believed, is an inside job. It is the product of living with integrity, not of accumulating approval. Epictetus was perhaps the most direct. What other people think of you is fundamentally outside your control and therefore not worth spending your precious energy on. Your energy belongs with your own choices and your own commitment to living as well as you possibly can. So how do we genuinely begin releasing this attachment to external validation? Start by truly owning your role as the author of your own story. You are the one who defines your worth through your character, the values you actually live by, the the kindness you genuinely extend to others, and the honest effort you put into your own growth. No algorithm and no social media follower count can touch that. Practice honest self-reflection regularly. Ask yourself whose vision of life you are actually living. Are the choices you are making coming from your own genuine desires and values, or are you quietly trying to conform to a mold someone else has designed? These questions, faced honestly, can help you realign with your truest self. Embrace your imperfection openly. Being authentic means acknowledging your flaws rather than hiding them, understanding that no one is a finished product, and that being a genuine work in progress is not a weakness. It is actually your most honest and most magnetic quality. Aristotle spoke about finding the golden mean, the wise balance in how we engage with everything, including the opinions of others. Applied here, this means being genuinely open to constructive feedback from people who know and care about you, while firmly maintaining your own sense of self-worth and personal authority. Adopting a Stoic approach to how others see you means anchoring your identity in your virtues, your actions, and your commitment to living meaningfully rather than in the fluctuating judgments of people around you. It means building an inner structure that remains fundamentally steady regardless of whether you are being praised or criticized. Let us commit to valuing ourselves for who we genuinely are rather than for the acknowledgement we receive. Let us be honest and courageous in our authenticity, living in a way that resonates with our deepest truths. Your worth is real, and it is yours. And when you live genuinely aligned with your values, you bring something into the world that no external approval could ever create or replace. Here is something worth accepting completely. Change is not just something that occasionally visits your life. It is the very nature of life itself. Learning to genuinely embrace it rather than resist it is one of the most liberating skills you can develop. The reality is that the only thing in this entire universe that reliably stays constant is the fact of change. And when we stop fighting that fact and begin working with it instead, the experience of navigating life's inevitable shifts becomes far less frightening and far more like an adventure we are genuinely participating in. The Stoics had a remarkably healthy and grounded relationship with change. Marcus Aurelius wrote about accepting whatever comes as part of the pattern of your individual destiny, understanding that life unfolds according to a logic larger than any single moment we can see from where we stand. This deep acceptance of change as something woven into the very fabric of existence helps us recognize that each shift, whether we initially welcome it or not, has its proper place in our unfolding story. Seneca warned about the pain that comes from clinging too tightly to how things currently are. Because things will always eventually move and shift, that clinging sets us up for unnecessary disappointment. He invited us instead to stay flexible and to understand that change is not an interruption of a good life, but one of its essential ingredients. Epictetus gave us the cleaner and more actionable version. Focus on what you can control, which is your own attitude and response, and release your grip on what you cannot, which is the change itself. This is not a passive philosophy. It is deeply empowering. It asks you to stop pouring energy into resisting what is inevitable and to redirect that energy into finding the opportunity within it and moving forward with your dignity and your purpose intact. What practically helps us become more accepting of change? Start by reminding yourself regularly that impermanence is not a flaw in reality, but its most fundamental characteristic. Everything is shifting: seasons, relationships, circumstances, even our own selves. Embracing change means embracing life in its full, honest nature. Mindfulness helps enormously here as well. When you practice being fully present in each moment, you naturally hold your experiences a little more lightly, appreciating them deeply without needing to clutch them in place forever. This creates genuine spaciousness when those experiences eventually evolve or end. Seek the lessons embedded in every significant change you encounter. Instead of asking why this is happening to you, ask what you are being given the chance to learn. This perspective transforms even the most challenging transitions into experiences that make you more capable, more understanding, and more genuinely wise. Aristotle spoke of adaptability as a genuine virtue, part of the capacity to navigate life with grace and practical wisdom. Modern psychology supports this entirely, demonstrating that people who learn to view change as opportunity rather than threat experience significantly less stress, recover more quickly from setbacks, and ultimately build more resilient and satisfying lives. Change is not something to simply endure or survive. It is something to genuinely engage with as a living and dynamic part of your journey. By making peace with it, by flowing with it rather than fighting it, you open yourself to experiences and forms of growth that resistance would have permanently blocked. Let us navigate life's currents with real courage, with openness, and with a genuine willingness to be transformed by whatever this extraordinary and ever-changing life brings our way. No matter how different our circumstances, our backgrounds, or our individual paths through life, we are all sharing this experience together. Every person we encounter is navigating their own version of the same essential human journey, facing challenges, seeking meaning, hoping for connection and dignity. Recognizing this shared humanity and choosing to respond to it with genuine compassion and empathy is not only beautiful, it is, the Stoics would argue, an essential part of living well. The Stoics placed enormous importance on the virtues of kindness and understanding toward others. They believed deeply in the interconnectedness of all human beings and taught that living virtuously is inseparable from how we treat the people around us. Marcus Aurelius wrote with striking simplicity that whatever brings no benefit to the community brings none to the individual either. This image captures something profound. Our well-being and the well-being of those around us are not separate things. They are fundamentally linked. Seneca wrote about compassion as one of our most natural human impulses, and argued that by genuinely helping others, we are also, in the deepest sense, helping ourselves. He even encouraged extending understanding toward those who have caused us harm, recognizing that their behavior almost certainly emerged from their own pain, confusion, or limitation. Epictetus consistently encouraged his students to genuinely try to understand the perspective and experience of others, to recognize that every person has reasons for what they do, even when those reasons are not immediately visible to us. This does not mean accepting harmful behavior without comment. It means approaching people with a default stance of empathy and a genuine desire to understand. How do we cultivate this quality of compassion in our ordinary daily lives? It begins with the practice of genuinely listening, not just waiting for your turn to speak, but actually attending to the experiences and feelings being shared by the person in front of you. Trying honestly to imagine what their life feels like from the inside. This single act of authentic attention can bridge enormous distances between people and create a real sense of shared humanity and mutual recognition. Acts of kindness matter enormously here as well, and they do not need to be large or dramatic to have genuine impact. A moment of real attention, a few words of honest encouragement, the willingness to simply be present with someone in a difficult moment. These things can change the quality of someone's entire day and sometimes much more than that. Being compassionate also means showing up for people during their hardest times, offering genuine support and understanding without the requirement that they meet some standard of worthiness before receiving your care. Aristotle wrote beautifully about the role of deep empathy in building the kinds of friendships that genuinely sustain us. He believed that real friends do not only celebrate each other's victories, they accompany each other through the sorrows as well, with honest presence and understanding. Modern psychology reinforces all of this. Research consistently shows that people who practice genuine compassion toward others experience deeper satisfaction in their relationships, a stronger sense of belonging, and greater overall emotional well-being. Caring for others is not just a gift to them, it is a gift to yourself. Let us remind ourselves regularly that behind every face and every behavior is a full human story carrying its own weight of experience, hope, and struggle. By choosing to understand and care for one another, we make the world genuinely kinder, and we find within ourselves a depth of fulfillment and joy that self-absorption simply cannot provide. Let us spread that care as widely and as generously as we can. In the relentless forward rush of modern life, the practice of pausing to look honestly at how we are actually living can feel like a luxury we cannot afford. But the Stoics understood it as one of the most essential things we can do for ourselves. Reflection and honest self-review are not indulgences. They are the practices by which we ensure we are not simply being carried along by circumstances, but are genuinely steering our lives in directions that matter to us. Marcus Aurelius left us a living example of this practice. His personal writings, the ones we now read as his meditations, were not written for an audience. They were the private and honest records of a person genuinely working to understand himself, to examine his choices, and to keep his values clearly in view. He understood that the quality of a life depends enormously on the quality of the inner conversations we are willing to have with ourselves. Seneca compared life to a kind of ongoing performance and encouraged us to step back regularly and ask ourselves honestly whether the role we are playing is one we genuinely believe in. Are our daily choices consistent with the values we say matter most to us? Are we living the story we actually want to be telling? Epictetus encouraged his students to end each day with a simple but serious self-examination, not as an exercise in harsh self-criticism, but as an honest and caring check-in. What did I do today that I am genuinely proud of? Where did I fall short of who I want to be? What did I leave undone that mattered? These questions, asked regularly, quietly begin to shift the trajectory of how we live. How do we bring this practice into our modern lives in a way that actually sticks? Begin by making it a genuine daily habit rather than something you do occasionally when you remember. Reserve a few minutes each evening before sleep to sit with your day. What went well? Where did you face something difficult, and how did you respond? What do you wish you had done differently? This practice can begin as a mental exercise, but writing it down gives it additional power and creates a real record of your evolving journey through life. Use this reflection time as an opportunity for gratitude as well. Within the honest review of your day, make sure you are also pausing to notice and appreciate the moments that were good, however small. This counterbalances the natural tendency of the mind to focus more heavily on problems and creates a more complete and more accurate picture of your actual experience. Approach the entire practice with genuine kindness toward yourself. The point of reflection is not to build a case against yourself or to wallow in guilt. It is to notice honestly, learn actively, and adjust thoughtfully. The same compassion you would naturally extend to a good friend navigating their challenges is exactly the compassion you deserve to extend to yourself. Aristotle believed that the examined life is one lived in genuine accordance with wisdom and virtue. Modern psychology consistently supports the practical benefits of this kind of honest self-reflection, showing clear improvements in mental clarity, emotional health, and a person's ability to make choices that are genuinely aligned with their values and long-term well-being. Let us commit to making this practice of reflection a real and regular part of how we live. Let it be our inner compass, ensuring that we are not just drifting through our days, but intentionally navigating toward the life we genuinely want. By taking time to honestly look back, we gain the clarity and the wisdom to move forward with greater purpose, deeper self-awareness, and a truer connection to who we are and who we are still becoming. Every single lesson we have explored together today from Stoicism is not just a relic of ancient thought. Each one is a living and practical tool for the real challenges of a real life. They help us manage stress with greater wisdom, make decisions with greater clarity, and find genuine peace even in the middle of chaos. And more than anything, they remind us that what defines us is never the difficulty we encounter, but the strength we find in meeting it, the wisdom we gather from it, and the compassion we carry forward because of it. Every moment of reflection, every choice made with integrity, every act of genuine kindness is another brushstroke on the canvas of a life that is authentically and beautifully yours. So let us not simply exist. Let us live with full aliveness, with deliberate purpose, and with honest commitment to who we are and who we are always in the process of becoming. As we close today, I want to encourage you not to let this inspiration fade once the screen goes dark. There is a playlist waiting for you, filled with more wisdom, more stories, and more practical ways to move through life with grace and genuine resilience. Click on it, go deeper, and keep sculpting the most authentic version of yourself you are capable of becoming. Let us keep growing, keep reflecting honestly, and keep embracing the beautiful and endlessly complex gift of this human life. Thank you from the heart for spending this time here with me. Until we meet again, remember to live not just for the applause, but for the cause of being the most genuine, most courageous, most fully alive version of yourself possible. Take care of yourself, and I will see you on the very next step of this journey.